Am I the idiot for making a joke about my child that accidentally triggered my friend's marriage breakdown and caused drama at an engagement party? So, me and my wife have a 5-year-old son. Our group of friends is mostly couples with kids as we are nearing our 40s, and so a lot of our meetings with friends now include meeting up as entire families, kids included. This can sometimes mean a lot of adults and a lot of kids. One person in this group, Emma, fake name, used to be my roommate in college. She was married and has her own kids, and we hang out with her and her husband sometimes in a group setting, but rarely on our own. Emma also tends to run late, often. This is all relevant to the story. As our son is an only child, we sometimes worry that he wouldn't really learn to share or get along with other kids. To prevent this, and while I love spending time with him, I would sometimes preemptively nudge him to engage with other kids when we are in public playgrounds or at the beach or the pool. To that end, when I buy him a water pistol or an RC car or the like, I'd often just buy 2 or 3. I'd get to the playground and play with him, and when another kid would show interest in the toys, I'd just go, "Oh, you want to play with us?" and hand him the remote or the pistol or whatever, thus getting the kids to play. This works great quite often, and I have a generally good relationship with the parents in our neighborhood. This is also relevant. One day, like a year back, me and my wife were planning on taking our kid to the pool. I pack my large bag of pool toys. Emma texts me, her husband is away that day and she's looking for something to do with the kids. I talk to my wife and tell Emma we're going to our local pool and she's welcome to join us, but we're planning on heading there early, so she can just join us whenever. We arrive at the pool pretty early and get a really good spot poolside, right by the shallows. I grab some water pistols and me and my kids start playing world domination. I am trying to take over the world and can only be stopped through the power of water pistols. It's a whole thing, kid loves it. Soon another kid is there. It's a kid from my son's kindergarten class. He's there with his mom. He is of course welcome to join us. We know the family, the mom and my wife are pretty friendly and our kids play together often. So my wife says she wants to go for a swim, and the kid's mom says she wants to join her, and asks me if I'm okay watching the kids. I say sure, since by this point the kids are blasting each other with water pistols and I'm just chillin' poolside, just occasionally having to call out, "Oh no, my plans for world domination, ruined." Because sometimes that's just what parenting is. Then Emma and her kids show up. She is really happy to see me and I give out toys to her kids. All is going well. Then my son's friend runs up and asks for some other toy and I go sure thing and hand it to him. Emma goes, "Oh my God, so cute. He looks just like you." I laugh and say, "Okay, cool, but this isn't my kid." Now, in her defense, the kid does look kinda like me, making this kinda hilarious. When my wife and the kid's mom come back, I tell them this story. They also find it hilarious. We all have a friendly chuckle but think little of it. Fast forward to a few months ago. I haven't seen Emma in a while. We were at a friends group gathering, and it was a good time all around. When we're about to call it a day, me and Emma are at the entrance. She's grabbing her stuff and I'm on my second trip from the car, kids' toys, kids' clothes, dirty dishes, Tupperware with leftovers I want, etc. And I call out to Emma's husband. "Hey, can you call my wife and kid over? Just make sure it's actually my kid and not some random kid who kinda looks like me." I think it's a hilarious callback. He seems confused and kinda angry. He asks what the hell I'm talking about. Why would he call a random kid? I'm also confused, so I tell him the pool story. He doesn't laugh. Emma doesn't laugh either. The entire thing now feels kinda awkward. I awkwardly say goodbye, go grab my wife and kid myself, and we leave. Later that day I text Emma to ask if everything is alright. I get no reply. I will text again a few days later. No reply. I get the distinct sense I fucked up, but also if she doesn't want to talk to me, I'm not gonna force the issue. I leave well enough alone. At worst I thought she was mad at a joke I made which was apparently in poor taste. Boy howdy did I underestimate the fallout of this joke. A few days ago I arrived at a friend's place and she's there. This is an engagement party, so no kids. I wasn't supposed to come but decided at the last minute, and my wife was at home with our kid. Emma sees me and is livid. She wasn't expecting to. She only came because she thought I wouldn't be here. She does, however, take the opportunity to tear me a new one though. She calls me out in front of everyone. Because of my joke, originally said with air quotes, her husband was furious. From what she said and what I gathered from mutual friends afterwards, she previously commented on someone else's kid looking like someone who wasn't his father. Except that whole thing led to family drama in Emma's husband's family because in that case that dude was cheating and that was his kid and a whole bunch of people were really hurt in the aftermath. Emma's husband was furious because he apparently thought she would know better than to comment on kids looking like people again. This sent them down a spiral, especially because the husband apparently thought she told me that other family story, and that I was mocking him for his family drama, and he thought the story I told was just covering for her when I realized I fucked up. This was not the case. I had no idea that whole thing happened. Still, he didn't believe Emma when she told him. So they are now separated. She calls me an asshole and says I ruined her marriage. I am not a confrontational person. I apologize profusely. I say I didn't know, and if she didn't want me telling the story she should have said something. She tells me I'm making excuses. This is now a scene. I apologize profusely again and leave quickly after telling the couple a quick congratulations. I am later told this was anything anyone could talk about at the party, and now the engaged couple are mad at me too. Emma is even more mad because now everyone knows her drama. I am unfriended and unfollowed on everything. Some friends think I couldn't have known better and the joke was pretty benign. Other friends say it was in really poor taste to throw her under the bus and I'm totally the asshole. Emma's best friend, who I also know from college, thinks I did know about the thing with her husband, and now I'm just covering my own ass to get away with being cruel. It has been a few days and some of my friends will no longer talk to me. Others think she is wrong to blame me and that marriage was doomed anyway. Still, I feel really guilty about making the joke, and I obviously wouldn't have made it had I known the trouble it would cause. I like Emma, and I didn't want to hurt her. I also liked her husband. I'd like to say that maybe he was wrong to let the marriage implode like that because of a stupid joke, but at the same time I don't exactly know his family drama and their history, nor the specifics of his relationship with Emma, so I can't really say he's wrong or overreacting. The entire thing just kinda sucks. My wife sorta got my back though. She thinks the joke was hilarious, and actually thinks me breaking up their marriage makes it even funnier, because WTF, she also loves crazy Reddit stories, so she sent me to post this. So at least I got that going for me, which is nice. So, AITA? TL daughter, my friend accidentally said someone else's kid looks like me. I later made a joke about this in front of her husband. Turns out she said something like that before and it destroyed their marriage. She confronted me at an engagement party, and apparently I ruined that too. AITA? Update. I am now updating you because the last few hours have been a lot. It turns out that when I wrote my post I left out one critical piece of context. I thought I was a regular person living a normal life. Turns out I am Chaz, a side character on the worst Gossip Girl episode ever written. So after posting yesterday, reading replies and thinking it over, I decided to reach out to Emma one final time. Some of you thought I shouldn't and that these were, in fact, not my monkeys. Others made me realize that Emma was probably in a shitty situation with her husband and his family and was actively being gaslit. Now, of note here, while as I mentioned we're not as close as we used to be very close. She helped me pick out a spot and let me borrow her car for my first date with who later became my wife. She was a significant part of my support system during some very rough times in my life. Despite everything, I still felt like I cared about her and wanted to work things out. This is no longer the case. See, from my perspective, I thought we were good friends, then when she met her husband we naturally drifted apart, and then this thing happened out of nowhere. This was not what it looked like from her perspective. How do I know? Well, buckle up because this is absolutely unhinged. So last night, before going to bed, I texted her a long thoughtful message. I explained that I do apologize for the part I played in ruining her marriage, and I understand she is going through a tough time. I understand if she wants nothing more to do with me, but if and when she feels she wants to talk it out, she's welcome to reach out, and I leave the ball in her court. I show this to my wife and she is practically giddy. She tells me there is no way this shit doesn't blow up in my face and I should have just cut my losses, like many of y'all said. Emma shows up at my house at around 7 a.m. unannounced. I ask WTF, she says she really needs to talk to me. I call my wife to the door and explain this. She sends me off with this woman because she understands this shit can only go poorly and apparently she is here for it and it's my own fault at this point. So as I said, from my perspective we were friends, we drifted apart. From her perspective, for the last 15 years she has been playing some weird game of 4 days chess. Or, 2 different games of 4 days chess. Apparently she had feelings for me back in college, and she was trying to nice girl her way into a relationship with me. By being there for me when my dad died, and when I was struggling with being single. She always gave everything because she just assumed I would, at some point, come around. You'd think that me getting married or her getting married would change that. And it did, just badly. Apparently her husband knew about her feelings, which is why he always kept me at a distance. We never drifted apart. He explicitly asked her not to meet with me anymore outside of large social gatherings. That day at the pool? Yeah, that was her sticking it to him, because he was away cheating on her or something. And he didn't like her hanging around me scantily clad. It wasn't just that he was upset at the joke, he was upset because apparently I was having an affair with his wife and rubbing it in his face. Makes no sense. I know. It gets worse. That thing at the wedding? Well, at least she didn't plan that. I told our friends getting engaged that I wasn't coming. She asked and verified this. She wasn't expecting to see me and they told her I wouldn't be there, but once I showed up, she decided to exploit it. She intended to have a huge scene with me, so that she could tell her estranged husband and friends that I ambushed her because she broke off our affair. Our affair. Apparently we had an affair. Oh, what an affair is that? You ask. I did too. Apparently the story some people got was that she and I were having an affair, and it ended and I was stalking her. Her husband left her because he found out. So people more inclined to believe her just thought that was what happened and wanted nothing to do with me anymore. So why did her husband actually leave? Well, some of you called it. According to her, he was cheating on her a bunch and overall not a nice person. She never actually cheated on him, but used me to pretend that she did without my knowledge. So after the joke at the gathering, which may have indeed been in poor taste, they had a huge fight and he left the house. As for the thing with his family, from what I gather it was some dude sleeping with his cousin's wife or some such shit. So anyway, she tells me all this insanity and tops it off with that my message really moved her and we can still be friends. The reason she rushed to show up at 7 a.m.? My message made her realize I am actually the only one who really cares about her and everyone else in her life is fake and doesn't really care. I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed, but now this sounds like some really manipulative shit to me. And now I'm thinking back to a lot of our previous interactions. And a lot of them also seem like that to me now. I am not a confrontational person. I was willing to accept that I fucked up. Maybe some of you were right, and the joke was in poor taste and I'm a huge asshole for making it because I thought that if he knew the story he would get the call back, and if he didn't I'd tell him a funny story about his wife. I accept all that criticism. But this? Fuck no. I was done. I tell her I'm done with her shit. She can get back to her husband, leave her husband, keep any friends she wants, because I am fucking done. I can forgive a lot, but she has basically not communicated with me for over 15 years. I was telling her everything about my life and my feelings, and I was absolutely appalled by just how much of a one-way street it turned out to be. I feel like I didn't ever really know her. Maybe I played a role in that too. Maybe I was self-centered or selfish and didn't consider her emotions or her signs. I don't know. And you know what? At this point I don't think it matters. She lied to me so much. She lied to so many people so much. I just don't care anymore. I don't think there's anything left to this friendship. And the worst part? I just gave you this huge update, and I genuinely don't know how much of it is true. Maybe she was completely honest with me. Maybe she lied about everything and we're still playing 4 days chess. Who knows? I certainly don't. And that, more than anything, is why this friendship is over. Because even if I could forgive everything, I can never really trust her. So that's that. There will probably not be any more updates because this was meant to be a lighthearted post and it turned out into a total clusterfuck and I'm just so tired and so sad. I'm sorry if this wasn't as readable or as coherent as my previous post. This just happened and I'm just exhausted. My wife has been very supportive, though I assume at some point I'm due some well-earned I told you so's. She knows there wasn't an affair and certainly no stalking, and most of my friends probably know that too. I may try reaching out to some others because, well, I don't know, maybe they were told even worse things about me. But I am just done with this. And now I'm going to spend what's left of this weekend with my family and try to put this shit behind me. Now, for the next story. I refuse to make my son forgive my brother for excluding him from his wedding. Now my family is divided over it. Allow her to organize everything, including the location, cuisine, music, etc. In July of last year, Karen made the decision to organize a destination wedding at a posh resort. The invitation arrived, and it was sent to my son and myself. I tried to book our hotel room as soon as the page launched, and I even had a +1 if I wanted to. To be clear, I couldn't risk not getting a room. Therefore I had to call the hotel to make my reservation because the link wasn't working. The email confirmation stated room for 2 adults, but I didn't give it much thought because I thought the hotel representative's language barrier might have caused the error. At about the same time, I also purchased our airline tickets. Less than a month before the wedding, in January, my sister-in-law contacted me in tears and told me that Karen had messed up. My kid was 13 at the time, And it seems that the resort was adults only, meaning that no one under the age of 16 was permitted. When I requested whether Leo and I might stay at another hotel, they informed me that my son would not even be permitted to attend the ceremony or the reception because the entire resort was child-free. Disappointed, I promised my sister-in-law that I would discuss it with my son. She insisted that she and Jack wanted to inform him in person, even though I knew how thrilled he was about his uncle's wedding. To be honest, when my son was informed that he couldn't go, he broke down in tears. He begged them to reschedule the wedding, even providing his savings as collateral. After 30 minutes of this, my sister-in-law became irate and informed him that the day wasn't about him and that he was being self-centered. After a while, Leo apologized and retired to his room. My son ceased communicating with my brother after the wedding. Unless it was specifically concerning me, such as when Jack had to relay a message because he couldn't get through to me, Leo would ignore any messages that Jack sent him. Leo would only answer simple queries like, "Can you pass the salt?" or "Help grandma with the plates" at family get-togethers, but he would turn his back on my brother if Jack or Mary attempted to strike up a discussion or inquire about his schooling. To make up for the wedding, Jack and Mary offered to take my son on a special spring break vacation a month after the wedding, but he turned them down and subsequently informed me he didn't want to go. He adhered to his decision, which was terrible because I knew he truly wanted to go there and I wasn't yet able to finance it. The same thing occurred on Leo's birthday. As I do every year, he inquired whether I was going to throw him a party. When I replied that I was, he asked me not to bring his aunt and uncle. He only stated that if they didn't want him on their special day, he didn't want them on his. I attempted to persuade him to invite them because they are family and were truly sorry. When I told my brother he wasn't invited, he started crying. This past weekend, when we were at my mom's house and the topic of Leo's plans for college came up, things became heated. My mother urged Leo to begin making plans after asking him if he still intended to attend the same institution as Jack. Leo responded that he had changed his mind and was no longer interested. In response, my son said he had decided to study something else because he was no longer interested. "I thought you wanted to be like your uncle," my mother then asked. "Why would I want to be like him?" was my son's recent response. I stepped in at this moment and reminded Leo that his rudeness was unnecessary, but the harm had already been done. After hearing what he had to say, my brother and sister-in-law quickly departed. My brother texted me last night, accusing me of being bad for letting my kid harbor this resentment. He even said that I wasn't attempting to mend their relationship because I was jealous of it. I retorted that he was solely responsible for allowing his mother-in-law to arrange a wedding where my child was not welcome and that these were the results of his own behavior. He ended the call. My mother and a few other family members believe that in order for us to move on, I should make my kid forgive my brother, claiming that it was only a little error and that there was no malice. But I don't concur. My kid was obviously harmed, and he should only be given the opportunity to move past his hurt and forgive them when he is ready. Edit. I apologize for not getting back to you yesterday. After viewing the Civ 7 revelation, I became preoccupied with a Civ 6 game. Now that I've read through every remark, I wanted to respond to a topic that keeps coming up. I wasn't at the wedding. It didn't feel right to leave after what had happened, and I didn't want to leave my son alone while the majority of the family was away. Leo's tone, more than the words he used, was impolite in his response to Grandma's query. He provoked his uncle with a tone that I've seen him employ previously and am familiar with. He was attempting to start a quarrel, not only answering an improper query. I have respected his boundaries and understand his pain and anger, but that doesn't mean I have to put up with his acting aggressively whenever he feels like it. As for the actual conversation, let me summarize what Mary, my son and I said. Mary: "We made a mistake and you won't be able to go to the wedding." Leo: "But why? I want to go and you invited me." Mary said: "The venue only accepts adults, you can't enter." Leo said: "Can't you make an exception?" Me: "Leo, they can't. Do you recall being informed that they couldn't have kids in the bar when you applied for a part-time job there? That's how it is." Leo says: "Can't you get married somewhere else?" Mary: "We are unable to. We have already spent a lot of money on that location." Leo replied: "I can give you my savings." Mary: "It's insufficient. Additionally, none of the guests want to forfeit the money they have already spent." Leo: "My father is wealthy. I can leave if he gives you money. It's unfair. I want to attend the wedding." Jack: "Leo, I apologize, but we can make it right. After the wedding, how about we take you to Greece?" Leo: "I don't want to go to Greece," he said, growing increasingly agitated. "I'd like to attend the wedding. Why do you not want me to be there?" Me: "It was an error, Leo. We were unaware that there was a minimum age limit, but they wanted you there. Leo, that's unfair, then why did you invite me? On my uncle's special day, I would like to be with him. This is not our fault, Mary exclaimed, raising her voice. You have to let it go, it simply occurred. I'm sorry you can't make it, but you must quit being so self-centered. It's not your special day, it's mine. It was then that Leo lost it. I tried to comfort him and gave Mary a shut-up look without saying anything, as I indicated in a previous comment. Jack did say something to her, but I was unable to understand what he was saying. Leo apologized and begged to retire to his room after he had cooled down. Jack and Mary made an effort to apologize, but Leo ignored them. My kid requested me to go, but I followed him to his room to check on him. I returned to the living area. What the devil is wrong with you? I asked. It is not your place to shout at my son. Mary, I apologize, I simply have too much stress. For the past 2 months, my mom and I have been at odds over this. Me? I don't give a damn. You made it worse when I told you over the phone that he would be disappointed. Leave. Jack. Jacob, please. It wasn't her intention. I'll compensate Leo. Me? I don't care, I said. Leave. After they departed, I went to see how Leo was doing. I don't remember everything that was said because I don't have a photographic memory, but that's the main idea of what transpired that day. Update 1. In a nutshell, we will no longer be going to family gatherings. My brother promised to respect my son's boundaries after we spoke. He also described the actual events. Leo is currently doing a lot better. Longer update. I told my mother that until things settled down and, more crucially, until Leo felt at ease again, we would both no longer attend family events. She was obviously unhappy, but it appeared that she had now realized how much Leo had been harmed by her persistence. Surprisingly, she explained that she was so adamant that Leo forgive Jack because he had fallen into depression. Leo might become estranged from the family if I made him forgive his uncle, I informed her. When I informed my sister that we would no longer be going to events, she was equally upset, but she understood. In order for the children to continue spending time together, she recommended that we establish our own weekly ritual. Over the last few weeks, Leo has spent time at my sister's house 1 week and her kids have visited me the following. Leo appears okay with this arrangement, and it's beneficial that grown-ups aren't pressuring him to talk to his uncle. I texted my brother the weekend after my post to arrange a private meeting so we could chat. Mary wasn't present. Jack quickly expressed his regret for his actions and the things he had said to me. He verified my suspicions. He had been under stress due to frequent arguments with Mary and had even contemplated divorce due to the severity of the situation. I assured him I wasn't worried about it, even though it might sound harsh. I hoped he would be honest with me about what had transpired. Jack insists that it wasn't until late November that he learned the venue was child-free. But Mary had known for a long time, perhaps since the beginning, as many of you suspected. It seems that this all began when Jack and Mary took Leo to the beach a few years back. My son unintentionally called Jack Dad when they were playing, but he swiftly corrected himself. Jack said it was simply a minor lapse, similar to when a toddler calls a teacher mom. Jack dismissed Leo's embarrassment with a laugh. The catch? During that vacation, Jack's father-in-law, Phil, and mother-in-law Karen, were present and heard Leo. Knowing that Mary couldn't have children, Karen lost it when they got back from the trip and said she was triggered by witnessing a random child call Jack Dad. Karen became poisonous and hostile toward Mary, making demands such as preventing Leo from being present during her visits, despite Mary's attempts to clarify that it was simply an innocent error. Karen coerced Mary into allowing her to organize the ideal wedding for her only daughter, despite Jack and Mary's initial desire to elope and forego a lavish ceremony. After years of manipulating emotions, Mary ultimately gave in an attempt to maintain harmony. Karen then took over the wedding plans and deliberately picked a location that would not accommodate children. When Mary tried to protest after learning that the venue was reserved, Karen played the victim and dismissed her worries. Even if they slept at a different hotel, Mary said she tried to work out a deal with the resort that would let kids attend just the ceremony and reception. The management, however, refused to change the policy. Mary became more and more nervous as the date drew near, and in November she told Jack the truth. My brother claims that Mary finally snapped at Leo, in part because to her own mother's persistent manipulation and bullying, and in part because she felt guilty for allowing things to get to this point. Jack informed me that instead of excluding Leo and my sister's kids from the wedding, he would have called it off if he had known sooner. However, it was impossible to cancel by November since too many attendees had already reserved hotel rooms and flights. None of this, I informed Jack, justified the way he and Mary had handled Leo, particularly Mary. Even though she was older than 40, she nonetheless picked a battle with a toddler. Because Leo intended to utilize the £2,000 he had saved to attend Jack's wedding, she had screamed at him and called him selfish. I reminded Jack that he had disappointed Leo, who admired him and considered him a hero. Leo had learned that Jack didn't value him as much as he had assumed. I informed Jack that I would go low contact myself and that I would back Leo's decision to stop communicating with him. Jack requested an opportunity to apologize to Leo, but I informed him that he had already done so and that his only option was to wait for Leo to accept it. Although Jack appeared offended, he promised to honor our requests and give us some space and time. Regarding my son, I expressed my regret to him for not advocating for him earlier and for making him go to weekly family events. I informed him that going future, he was free to choose how he wanted to manage that aspect of the family. I informed Leo that I would be there for him no matter what and that I wouldn't be disappointed if he decided to quit going entirely, even if he looked hesitant to do so. I was pleased when Leo proposed that we spend more time together, alone, doing things he used to do with my brother, rather than attending weekly family events. We attended a vintage car exhibition last week, and we're going to see Wicked the following week. It sounds like fun, but I'm not a theatrical person. Leo shouldn't hold back simply because he had a falling out with someone he cared about, I told him, adding that I was concerned he had stopped doing things he enjoyed. In essence, I informed him that he could still enjoy those activities, alone or with someone else. He acknowledged that, in spite of Jack, he had ceased doing them even though he really wanted to. I then made the decision to buy him some games that he had been looking forward to but had refunded following the altercation with my brother as an early Christmas present. He even persuaded me to join him on his PS5 for a game of Final Fantasy Online while he plays on his PC. He seems to like watching me fail, even though I'll admit that I have no idea what I'm doing because the last Final Fantasy game I played was still in 2D. We would appreciate any advice you may have. For my birthday, we ultimately agreed to travel to his ideal location. I was a little disappointed that I won't be celebrating my brother's birthday for the first time in almost 50 years, but all that matters is that I have my son. It's a relief that Leo is content and less anxious about family issues. It's also encouraging that the family appears to be finally recognizing our limits. All I can hope for is that my brother can improve his marriage. Even though I'm angry at what they did, I do want him to be content.